Hello there, YouTubers. This is Tross, and I'm gonna show you today. My copy of a melon farm slash pumpkin farm. It's right over here. This is a little different than the designs I've seen. My design only has a row of pistons underneath that push the dirt up. Several designs I've seen pull the dirt down and have a second set of pistons that then push the melons down to break them. But my design here uses a few pistons less, and therefore is a little easier build, I feel. You can control it in a bunch of ways. The easiest way is just have two levers. First you must flip down the lever that pushes the grass or dirt up, and then you flip this lever that releases water that washes all the melons or pumpkins here where you can collect them. But that's a little work to get right, so you can build something like this. It looks complicated, but it's really just two things. We've got a RS latch here, and then a really extended ABBA switch. Now, an ABBA switch, if you don't know, this is the simplest version of it. You have two outputs, A and B, so when you turn them on, A comes on first, and then B comes on, and then when you turn them off, B goes off first, then A goes off. And this is needed so that when you turn off the water, that the pistons that push the ground up are still up, so that they don't, so the water doesn't wash away your vines here. I can show you how this works real quick. You light this up, you see A goes on first, then B, and then when you turn it off, you see B goes off, and then A does. So when arranged like this, the RS latch here actually is acting like a monostable circuit. It will turn on and then turn off after a time, and that time is actually controlled by this huge line of repeaters that are part of the ABBA switch. It actually delays the signal for 7 seconds, so when you turn it on, the dirt comes up, the water is then released for 7 seconds, which gives it enough time to wash all the melons down here. Then the water is turned off, and then the dirt stays up for an additional 7 seconds before it is then retracted. And I'm gonna now push the button here so you can see how the whole machine works. Dirt comes up, water turns on, all the melons are gonna be washed away. Water turns off, and then a few seconds later, dirt comes down, and you have a big pile of melon slices here. And we got 35 melon slices out of that. The thing is, this really takes a lot of repeaters to build, and there you can do some better stuff. It's what I did over here. This looks complex, but it actually uses a lot less repeaters, more or less. You can see I have two slightly different designs here. This is the design we saw before with the pistons, and the only difference here is now instead of only being 7 melons long, I've extended it to be 28 melons long. You know, the bottom still has the pistons with repeaters powering them. This design, besides using pumpkins instead of melons, is nearly exactly the same, except instead of 2 pistons holding back a group of water, we have these dispensers, each with a water bucket. Now, if you don't know how this works, dispensers filled with water buckets, when they receive a redstone charge, the water bucket is dumped out. The water is dumped out, but the bucket stays in the dispenser, and then the next time it receives a charge, the bucket basically picks the water back up, and you return to a dispenser with a filled water bucket. So the circuit is slightly different. Instead of having to keep a charge going to these, you only need a pulse to start them and another pulse to stop them. Instead of having the big line of repeaters like we had over there and a button, this design uses a item despawning to activate every 5 minutes. Cow's not supposed to be in the minecart, but it doesn't really matter. Uh, so what happens here is we got a little piece of sand here. We got a dispenser full of it. When every 5 minutes the item will despawn, releasing the pressure plate, which will turn on this torch. That will power this line, and originally I had this just powering the dispenser to shoot out another piece of sand, but I found that on a multiplayer server occasionally the sand will glitch into a corner or not land on the pressure plate. So to prevent that from happening, I have this little loop of track here as a secondary timer. There's an AND gate right here, so basically both this line has to be on and the line coming from the track has to be activated. So what that means is basically if the first piece of sand will miss, in a few seconds when the cart comes around again, another piece of sand will be dispensed until the pressure plate is finally pushed down. So what I found though is 5 minutes is not quite enough time for everything to grow. So I have here a toggle flip-flop that basically divides the signal rate from every 5 minutes to every 10 minutes. Just put one piece of redstone there that I took out so that it wouldn't run while I was discussing over there. So what this does is goes then through an edge detector that releases a quick pulse that runs a set of 4 pistons that this lighter wood and this glass are basically in a piston loop, so that the glass will move around, and as soon as the glass moves out of here and wood goes in that spot, this redstone signal will be picked up by this repeater, and that will basically push the dirt up. At the same time, we have another edge detector here which will send a signal out over this line, which will cause these dispensers to dump out their water. And actually, there it goes. You can see the piece of glass is moving around, and the pistons are pushing the glass and the lighter wood around. So besides activating the water dispensers, it also triggers this RS latch here, which raises these pistons. So basically the same action happens on both. Once the glass moves over to this point, it will stop the power going to this repeater, which will turn on this torch, which will send the second signal to cause this water to turn off, and also at the same time turn off the RS latch. Then we'll see that happen right now. So the water on both has now turned off, and it still takes about 6 more moves of the piece of glass to get back here, at which point the power to that repeater will stop. There's an AND gate here which will block the signal going around to the pistons. You see that last flash here did not cause this torch to flash, which prevented another cycle of the pulse going around that runs the pistons, which turns the whole machine off and retracts the dirt. So you can see down here at the end we have a whole bunch of pumpkins, and let's get rid of these melons. So collect the pumpkins, collect the melon slices. We got almost 2.5 stacks about of melon slices and 22 pumpkins. And you can see they're already starting to grow again. So yep, 2 blocks of sand got shot out that time. So yeah, you can see this basically allows you longer timing using less redstone repeaters, and you can have that water running longer, so you can build a longer track of melons or pumpkins. This allows actually 56 melons or pumpkins to grow at once, but as far as I know they average between 10 and 30 minutes to grow. So every this will harvest every 10 minutes, so basically every other harvest you'll get a pumpkin from each vine. So you can, these are pretty efficient. You can stack them close together. I actually have space here just to show how they work, but you can actually build them right next to each other, sharing the row of torches. They also, even though they look pretty tall, it's the whole thing's sloped, so it's really only about 7 blocks tall. So you can stack them up top of each other, which is actually a little project I did. Halloween is coming up, and so over here, I'll show you what I built here for Halloween. It's a giant pumpkin, which should be coming into view in a second here. There it is. And behind it is a giant pumpkin farm. Takes a while to load in. It's actually 6 farms horizontally, so you can see there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. We got one timer in the middle. It is 25 floors high. It's just, not just short, but I could maybe have fit one more floor in, but I was getting near the build limit. See, it goes up a whole long way. And it is 31 for Halloween, 31 copies back. You actually have to stand about here on the floor to have the other side in your view. It's still loading in. It's really huge. So what that means is there's 56 pumpkins per copy, times 6 copies horizontally, times 31 copies back, times 25 copies high. Gives you about 260,000 pumpkins can be harvested at once. All of them drop down into these channels with the water on ice, water on top of ice, so that the items can slide past. They all get collected here and get pushed out this way. They go in the back of the pumpkin, where they're lifted up and every few seconds get spit out his mouth. I'll show you how that works right now, but I'm not going to turn on the whole pumpkin farm because the harvest causes so many items to be created that the game lags to an unplayable state. So we got some melon slices. Actually, got some pumpkins here. I'll toss them. Well, normally this is designed so they don't jam up there. Let's toss them this way. See, they get slide over, come to the corner, get fed around here into the back of the pumpkin. His eyes light up, and they get spit out of his mouth. And got a few there, and another few seconds his eyes will go out, and they'll come on again, and he'll spit out another bunch. And that should be the rest. And that is my big creation for Halloween. Hope you guys enjoyed this. I'll try to make a few more demos of how some machines I've made work in the future for y'all. Thanks for watching.